I was 8 years old, sweating through my clothes, rubbing them between my own butt cheeks. On purpose, not because I was a weird kid, because my mother had just banned me from a family trip for the crime of showing up to school in clean clothes. What she didn't know was that this quiet, skinny 8-year-old was about to teach her a lesson in consequences she'd never forget and never solve. If you've ever been punished for something that wasn't your fault, if you know what it feels like to be the family scapegoat, while everyone else got the good stuff, you need to hear this story. Hit subscribe, tap that like button, and stick around, because this is one of the most satisfying small revenge, big karma stories you'll hear all week. Picture a house where the lights are always on, the fridge is always full, and every kid in the family looks put together, except one. That one was me. I was 8 years old, and I was what people politely call the overlooked child. Less politely, I was the one my mother resented. I had a disability, which meant the state sent monthly checks meant to cover my extra needs. Clothes that actually fit, supplies, whatever I required to keep up with other kids my age. My mother collected every one of those checks like clockwork. I never saw a cent of it. Meanwhile, my siblings wore clothes with tags still smelling like the mall. Their shoes matched their outfits. Their hair got brushed every morning before school. Me? I wore whatever was left in the bottom of a drawer. Shirts 2 sizes too small, pants with the knees blown out, shoes that pinched my toes so hard I'd come home with blisters. My hair was a tangled mess more days than not, because nobody in that house cared enough to run a brush through it. I didn't understand back then that this was abuse. I just understood that I felt small, invisible, like I was something to be managed rather than a kid to be loved. Kids are more perceptive than adults give them credit for, but sometimes it takes an adult to actually act on what they notice. My 3rd grade teacher was one of those adults. She'd been watching me for weeks. The same 3 outfits on rotation, the unwashed hair, the way I flinched a little whenever anyone raised their voice. One afternoon, she kept me back after the other kids filed out for recess. She crouched down to my eye level, the way teachers do when they want you to know they're really listening, and she asked me gently what was going on at home. And for the first time, someone was asking, not accusing, not annoyed, just asking. So I told her the truth, all of it. The checks that disappeared, the clothes that never got replaced, the way my mother looked at me like I was a burden with a heartbeat. She didn't say much in that moment, but the look on her face told me she'd heard every word, and it mattered to her. The very next morning, I walked into class, and my teacher pulled me aside before the bell rang. She handed me a bag. Inside were brand new shoes, still stiff with that new shoe smell, and clothes with the tags freshly cut off. Real, name-brand clothes, the kind my siblings wore without thinking twice. Her own daughter ran a small charity that collected clothing donations for kids in need, and my teacher had gone straight to her that same night. She didn't stop there. She pulled out a hairbrush and a little bottle of detangling spray. And right there before class started, she carefully worked the knots out of my hair and brushed it until it actually looked cared for. I remember standing in front of the bathroom mirror that morning, just staring at myself. For the first time in longer than I could remember, I looked like a kid whose life someone was paying attention to. I felt like I mattered. I wore those clothes home like armor. I should have known better than to think that feeling would last. The second I walked through the door, my mother's eyes locked onto my new shoes, my new shirt, my brushed hair, and her face twisted into something cold and furious. "Where did you get those clothes?" I told her the truth, the same truth I'd told my teacher. My teacher gave them to me. That should have been the end of it. A grateful parent, relieved that someone had stepped in to help her child. Instead, my mother's jaw tightened, and she said the words that told me everything about how she saw me, not as her son, but as a threat to her image. "Oh, so now your teacher thinks she's better than me? Like she can afford nice things and I can't?" The irony was suffocating. She could afford them. She'd been affording them every single month with checks that had my name on them. She just never chose to spend that money on me. Her punishment was swift and petty. I was grounded. And worse, I was banned from the family trip everyone else had been counting down the days for. Not because I'd done anything wrong, because I'd been helped, and that help had embarrassed her. That night, lying in my room while I could hear my siblings excitedly packing for a trip I wouldn't be going on, something in me shifted. I wasn't just sad anymore. I was angry in a way an 8-year-old doesn't usually get to be. Quiet, simmering, calculating anger. I couldn't hit back. I couldn't argue my way out of a punishment from someone who held all the power in that house. But I could do something small, something that was entirely, completely mine. I'd been sick that week, stomach twisted, sweating through my shirt, dealing with a rough bout of diarrhea that had me running to the bathroom more times than I could count. Most kids would have just felt miserable. I felt an opportunity. My mother had a few things in that house she guarded like treasure. Her pillowcases, the good ones, the ones she fussed over, and her favorite t-shirt, the one she wore constantly, hung up like it was sacred. So quietly, methodically, I got to work. I took her pillowcases and rubbed them against myself while I was drenched in sweat, working the smell deep into the fabric. Then I grabbed her favorite shirt, the one she loved, and used it exactly the way you're imagining, thanks to a stomach that wasn't cooperating that week. I folded everything back up neatly, put it exactly where I'd found it, and went to bed with the first real smile I'd had in days. I never got caught. Not that night, not the next week, not ever. My mother slept on those pillowcases. She pulled that shirt back on, more than once, probably wondering why her favorite things suddenly smelled off no matter how many times she washed them. I watched her wrinkle her nose at her own pillow one morning and mutter something about needing new detergent, completely unaware that the source of her problem was sitting across the table from her. Eating cereal, saying nothing. She never knew. That was the whole point. This wasn't about her finding out and feeling sorry. It was about me, for once, having power over something in that house. A secret only I held. A tiny, disgusting, deeply satisfying act of control in a home where I had none. Looking back at it now, 16 years later, I don't feel guilty. An 8-year-old shouldn't have to plot revenge against his own mother just to feel like a person instead of a paycheck. That story isn't really about pillowcases or a ruined t-shirt. It's about a kid who'd been stripped of every other form of power, finding the one thing he could control, even if it was small, even if it was petty. Sometimes justice doesn't come in a courtroom. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the laundry, and nobody ever has to know but you. If this story hit home for you, smash that like button and drop a comment. What's the pettiest, most satisfying payback you've ever pulled off? I want to hear it. And if you want more stories like this, real people, real justice, told the way they deserve to be told, hit subscribe because there's a lot more where this came from.